Smith. The prayer will be by Mr. Newman, and the pledge will be by Mr. Bachhaus. Please stand.
Thank you, President Darby. Just wanted to mention that a couple of our board members are out tonight. Mr. Bill Lott is with his church, assisting some of the flood victims down South Louisiana. Certainly appreciate him for that. And also Mr. Wiggins is ill this evening. I want to continue in our prayers, if we would, for Mr. Jimmy Boyd. He's over our warehouse. He's continuing his treatments for cancer that he's had for somewhat of a while, and so we want to keep him in our prayers. Again, two of our principals, Ms. Rhonda Snell is still out. Her husband, of course, has had a heart attack and a stroke, so I want to keep she and her family in our prayers. And also Ms. Lisa Metter, Principal T.O. Rhodes, please continue to keep her husband in our prayers. He's having kidney problems, so we certainly want to keep him in our prayers. We also have others throughout our system. As we know about it, as we hear about it, we certainly want to keep all of them in our prayers. Thank you.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you this evening, giving you thanks for the opportunity to get together to lead this great parish and lead these administrators and these students and these teachers. Dear Lord, we just pray that you put your guiding hand upon us and everyone involved in the lives of these children, Lord, that we can make it the best that it can be, Lord. We know that you have put us all in a position with a reason and with a purpose, Lord. And we just ask for your guidance, that we recognize that reason and purpose, and then we use it to your glory and to benefit these children, Lord. We specifically want to pray for Mr. Bill Lott, Mr. Kenneth Wiggins, and the health, and get them back to the board as soon as possible for their insight and wisdom, dear Lord. We pray for the Boyd family, we pray for the Snell family, and we pray for the Metter family. Lord, we also ask for your blessings and grace upon those in South Louisiana that have lost everything, from the churches to the schools to the families. We just ask that you look over everyone and you bless that area with some good weather and a good recovery, Lord. We pray all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag and join in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Your leadership here tonight? If so, would you please stand and state your name and the school that you attend?
Hi, I'm Grace Hughes. I go to Ellen. I'm Caroline Crickford, and I go to Ellen.
Welcome. Thank you for coming, and if you need signatures, you can go to the gentleman on your right, on my right, or the gentleman on your left for signatures. Thank you. Item 102, approval of the minutes of the regular session of the board for August 18, 2016. Motion by Mr. Slack, second by Mr. Masur. Please vote. Item 1.03, approve of the agenda for the regular session of the board for September 1st, 2016.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Cheatham, second by Mr. Newman. Please vote. Item 2.01 is recognitions. Bossier Parish School Board Good News presented by Sonia Bales, our Public Relations Liaison.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith, President Darby, and all of our board members and all of our guests in attendance this evening. We have had an amazing 2 weeks since we last met here at our Bossier Parish School Board meeting. Bossier Schools announced that it is the pilot district to roll out Act 303, which enables former students across the state identified with disabilities to retroactively apply for and be eligible to receive their high school diplomas. And just in Bossier Parish alone, we have identified nearly 300 students dating back to the 90s that may be eligible to receive their high school diploma at long last and participate in a very special graduation ceremony that we have set for Sunday, January 15th, right here in this auditorium, with a reception to follow afterward for their family and friends. Also in the last couple of weeks, Superintendent Smith gave an overview of Bossier Schools and its many accomplishments. He also laid out his visions as superintendent at the Bossier Chamber's State of Education breakfast, which was very well attended by our business community and others. And then yesterday, another big announcement. We announced the expansion of our Bossier Schools Virtual Learning Academy, which will now be offered to our middle school students in addition to our high school students at 2 campuses, Butler Educational Complex and also Bossier High School, which will officially open next Tuesday for classes there at their virtual lab. So some big things that have been happening in the last couple of weeks, and I just wanted to highlight your attention to that. Also, several of our schools have been actively collecting school supplies and other much needed supplies, as well as monetary donations for our neighbors in South Louisiana. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but those efforts continue, so I wanted to be able to highlight a few of those. Yesterday, Airline High School Principal Jason Rowland took a trailer filled with supplies to Denham Springs High School, where he also presented the principal there with a check on behalf of Airline as well as Plain Dealing High School for $4,000 to help them get back on their feet. Also, Legacy Elementary filled its lobby with cleaning supplies and hygiene items for the Salvation Army to distribute to those down south who are tasked with the cleanup and recovery process left behind by the floodwaters. Then over the weekend, W.T. Lewis took school uniforms and much needed supplies to Zachary, Louisiana, to help families struggling there in sending their children back to school. And then this morning, Bel Air Elementary filled the Salvation Army truck with items that residents will need again for that long cleanup and recovery process. And the Bel Air Bombers have also hosted free dress days to raise money for Freshwater Elementary. That's the school in Denham Springs that Bel Air has adopted. And there are many other efforts going on throughout our district. And we're going to be having a big presentation the latter part of September on behalf of Bossier Schools, a culmination of all those efforts, if you will. We are very thankful to reciprocate the goodwill that Bossier Schools has certainly benefited from in the past in so many ways, and to be a blessing to our fellow Louisianans. Very proud of our students and all of our faculty across the district. Speaking of being a blessing, one of Bossier Schools' biggest blessings is definitely the Optimist Club of Bossier City. You know, for the last 25 years, this is a staggering number to me, Bossier Parish teachers have benefited from the Optimist Club grants to equip their classrooms with resources that in turn excite and engage their students, get them excited about learning. And I want you to focus on this number because to date, the Bossier Optimist Club has poured more than $400,000 into bettering Bossier schools. They raise this money through hosting bingo games every week, and then they turn around and they give all that money back just to Bossier schools to benefit our teachers. Well, tonight, the Optimist Club of Bossier's commitment to our school system continues with a special presentation. And it's my pleasure at this time to introduce a few people to you. Larry and Nancy Scott are here, as well as Brian Kennebrew, who is the Secretary-Treasurer of the Optimist Club of Bossier. Also, we have Arsenio Anthony, who is here. She is our district's homeless and migrant liaison. And I'd also like to ask for Superintendent Smith to come forward. I'm not sure if Ms. Blackshire is in the audience or not, but if Willie Blackshire is here, we'd like to ask for her to come forward too, our supervisor of the Parent Learning Center. Ms. Anthony, by the way, assists our students whose families have trouble with making ends meet and sometimes affording the school supplies that they need and the school uniforms that they grow out of during the course of the year. And just recently, Mr. Scott reached out to our district and he asked, what can the Optimist Club of Bossier do to help? In addition to what they already do for our school system with those resources and those teacher grants. And thanks to their organization, they are making funds available for Ms. Anthony to be able to help those students I was talking about that are in need throughout the school year. So at this time, I would like to turn things over to Mr. Scott. He has a special presentation to make to Ms. Anthony and to Mr. Smith.
Thank you. This will be short and sweet. The Bossier Optimist Club enjoys and loves our children. And to further what we're doing, I would like to present the school with a check for $1,000 to be paid and used in the sunshine room for their needs. And should something be needed in the future, call.
Thank you so much again to the Optimist Club of Bossier City. I cannot tell you what a blessing they have been over the years to Bossier schools. Thank you so much again. Let's give them another round of applause. There are a lot of children that are going to be helped, and they'll never know where the help came from, and that's okay because that's how we want it to be. But we're going to be able to make sure that they're on the same equal footing as their peers and always have what they need to be successful and confident each day at school. There are many unsung heroes in this room, from supporters like the Optimist Club of Bossier, who provide resources for our students and our teachers, our educators and administrators who teach our children and help them to achieve their personal best, and also the men and women who keep them safe. Bossier Schools undoubtedly has, second to none, the best school resource officer program anywhere that you will find. These Bossier Parish Sheriff's deputies are a part of our school system as well as a part of our school family. They are on our campuses each day to help de-escalate any problems that may arise, and they never know from one day to the next what they will face. They take their oath to serve and protect seriously. At this time, I would like to ask for our Director of Security, Sergeant Adam Johnson, to come forward, and he's going to introduce to us our new school resource officers for 2016-17, who are tasked with keeping our most prized treasures safe. Sergeant Johnson.
Thank you, Sonia. Madam President, Superintendent Smith, members of the board, I'm honored to be here today. These fine gentlemen are coming before us today. These are our new SROs that you guys approved, that the citizens of Bossier Parish approved. And let me remind you of this. We are one of only 2 parishes in the state of Louisiana that will have an SRO full-time in our schools every single day. That's unprecedented, ladies and gentlemen. This time, the time in society today, the things that have gone on around this world, it is an absolute must to have these deputies in these schools, and I sincerely appreciate your support, board and citizens of Bossier Parish. Without further ado, I would like to introduce these fine individuals. They all come from a very good background. They have a heart for mentoring kids. They have a passion for working in our schools. These guys have been highly trained. A lot of them you will hear in a few minutes. They have a lot of military training. They have served. They have a willingness to serve. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first SRO, Deputy LaVaro Ramey. If you'd step forward, please. Deputy Ramey served 21.5 years active duty in the United States Marine Corps. That's unprecedented right there. Thank you, sir, for your service. 4 years working with Bossier Sheriff's Office as the Young Marines Commander. Young Marines is a program that we use to reach out to youth that are having troubled times and even teach them some direction. And this man has been a commander of that unit for 4 years. Very fine individual. He's newly assigned to Airline High School to assist with Deputy Harlan Dredge, who's also an absolute wonderful resource for us, and he protects our kids and makes us safe. So once again, Deputy LaVaro Ramey. Secondly, we've got Deputy Cedric Payne. Would you step forward? Cedric has been with Bossier Sheriff's Office for approximately 14 years, 2 of which were in corrections and the remaining 12 years in patrol.
Cedric is an ordained minister in the church, and he's a great role model for youth. He works in the community with USA Track and Field Junior Olympics and is passionate about his new task as the SRO at Princeton Elementary. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cedric. Deputy Thomas Delby. Tommy and I worked together for a long time at Bossier City Police years ago. Tommy worked with Natchitoches PD and Bossier City Police for a combined 34 years of service to our community. He's a retired Bossier City Police lieutenant. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the school system and this unit. Tommy also has a passion for serving, and that he has several show horses where he recently assisted in the fallen officers' funerals in Dallas and Baton Rouge by using and directing his horses while pulling these fallen brother law enforcement officers to their final resting place on a beautiful hearse carriage. He will be currently assigned to Curtis Elementary School. Let's give him a round of applause. Deputy Clay Christian. Clay is a 12-year veteran of Bossier Sheriff's Office and has previously worked in corrections, patrol, and K-9 units. He too is a cowboy, like Tommy, and he also has a farm in Rocky Mountain where he raises cattle. And let me tell you something, this thing is back in the sticks. But he is a wonderful man. Clay also had the pleasure of being influenced by one of our own, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Mitch Downey, who coached this guy in high school. And Lord, have I heard some wonderful stories about him. But he is now currently assigned to Central Park Elementary. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for this gentleman. Deputy Dwayne Washington. Dwayne is a 6-year veteran with Bossier Sheriff's Office and spent time in corrections, patrol. Dwayne loves the community and is a graduate of Parkway High School, which I'm a graduate from. Go so right? There we go. Dwayne has a passion for mentoring our kids and has expressed to me on occasion how excited he is for the opportunity to make a difference. That is our motto, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to make a difference in these schools. So he is currently assigned to Bossier Elementary School to assist Miss Mitchell. Let's give him a round of applause. Deputy Rusty Shoemaker. Rusty spent 12 years in the United States Navy and served his country honorably. Rusty has opened a child daycare facility with his wife in the past and ran successfully. That shows his compassion for working with these kids. He has been with Bossier Sheriff's Office for 9 years and has spent time in corrections and patrol. Rusty is elementary proud, and he is extremely excited for his new assignment as the SRO at Waller Elementary. Thank you very much. Deputy Dustin Dennis. Dustin is an 8-year veteran with Bossier Sheriff's Office and has served in the Corrections Division as well as patrol. Dustin is the type of guy that goes above and beyond to accomplish a goal or mission, and we are glad to have him on board. This guy will run through a brick wall for you, and I'm glad to have him on our team. Dustin will be serving at Plain Dillon High School. Let's give him a round of applause. Deputy Stephen Phillips. Another person that has service at his heart. Stephen is a 22-year retired United States Air Force veteran where he served as a munitions specialist. He has been working with Bossier Sheriff's Office for 6 years where he served in Corrections and Patrol Division. He is very knowledgeable and eager to work and mentor with the great kids at Plantation Park Elementary. Stephen Phillips. Deputy James Lonadier is not present with us today. He's on an assignment right now at Benton High School. They're having a Benton Tiger Pride Night, I believe, up there right now. He's assisting with some of the activities up there and keeping them safe. But James Lonadier, wonderful individual. James is a great asset to the division and school system. I kind of call him a dual threat type of guy. James retired as a district chief from Bossier City Fire Department. He has worked with Bossier Sheriff's Office for approximately 2 years in corrections and patrol. Wonderful guy, great people skills, loves kids, has a passion for working with kids. He brings that aspect of EMT quality, those things that can help out when we have those things that happen, you know, medical issues and so forth. That's why I consider him a dual threat guy. He wanted to express that he was sorry for not being here, but he has some other obligations that he wanted to tend to at his school, and that shows his passion. Mr. James Lonadier. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to somebody very special to this division, and that is going to be Mr. Sergeant Lane Tuggle. Sergeant Tuggle. Lane will be the new SRO supervisor, assisting me with the everyday operations throughout the parish. Lane has an unbelievable amount of experience he brings to the table. He spent 27 years with the Louisiana State Police. He was also the SWAT commander for the Louisiana State Police. Ladies and gentlemen, you are fortunate to have people like this qualified to be serving your prized possessions, which is your babies. And so, this gentleman is extremely bright, and he certainly brings a lot to the table. So let's give Lane Tuggle a round of applause. Board members, I appreciate you allowing me to come forward and introduce these gentlemen. They are a family now, the Bossier Schools. We are working together to make this thing the best it can be. We have a huge vision. We're going to strive to do the best and keep your baby safe. So one more last time, that concludes my report. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you so much. We also want to recognize, as they leave, our other school resource officers who attended in support of our new SROs. So we want to give them a round of applause too. Here at Bossier Schools, we are proud to back the badge and to have these men and women in blue in our schools each day. Well, finally this evening, some long overdue recognition for some students that have helped put Bossier Schools on the map, both nationally and internationally, when it comes to the world of archery. Will you please welcome our middle school national and world archery champions, the Benton Middle School Archery Team. As you can see, they are bringing a lot of hardware up front. Those are some really nice trophies that they have racked up this past year, and lots of medals that they have there too. Just to tell you a little bit about their accomplishments, back in May, these archers competed in the National Archery in Schools Program Championship held in Louisville, Kentucky, where they hit the bullseye, literally, claiming the middle school bullseye title and bringing home the national championship. And we've not had the opportunity since then to be able to recognize them for that. But then it just got better. Because with the national championship under their belts, they went on over the summer to compete in the World Tournament in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where they faced off against the best archers across the globe. But in the end, it was these students right in front of you who proved to be the best archers across the globe, claiming not just one, but both world championship titles in the bullseye and 3D competitions for all middle schools. And speaking of being the best in the world, I do want to single out a few students here. Emma Bunch. Emma, if you'll step forward. Emma finished in the top spot after shooting a 291 out of a 300 in the 3D competition. That is awesome. Right behind her was Caitlin Meisenheimer. Is Caitlin here? I always say it wrong, don't I? Meisenheimer, is that better? Meisenheimer? She shot a 289, garnering a 3rd place finish in the world. And then, Aiden Hare. There you go, Aiden. Duncan scored a 289, placed third in the male division, best in the world. And then we certainly have to recognize Abby Rutledge. Abby, if you'll step forward. Abby put on a stellar performance in the bullseye competition. Talk about hitting the bullseye right there in the center, scoring a 291 to rank her 4th in the world in the bullseye among all middle school girls. Awesome. Now let me introduce you to Benton Middle School's national and world champions. Ladies and gentlemen, Caitlin Meisenheimer, Brady Duncan. Why don't each one of you wave as I call your name? Brady Duncan, Riley Daniels, Aiden Hare, Dalton Dial, Lake Bradford, Emma Bunch, Josh Ferris, Trey Winkler, Abby Rutledge, Emery Kaiser, Emily Crowell, Anna Robbins, Caitlin Masters, Kelton Fowler, Kendall Fowler, Avery Halverson, Landon Couch, Taylor Walker, Nathan Harden, Trip Armour, Colby Leeper, Peyton Kennedy, Lauren Bain, Tucker Gibbs, Alicia Huffman, Aiden Gilcrease, Conrad Johnson, and Amber Long. Now you can tell we're missing a few. A lot of them are at Benton Tiger Pride Night because a lot of these students were 8th graders and they're now high schoolers, so they are at Tiger Pride Night tonight. And we certainly cannot forget two very special ladies, the awesome coaches of the Benton Middle School archery team, Terry Streetman and Jessica Benoit. About this tonight because this evening each of you will be the first in Bossier Parish to receive something very special in recognition of your achievements. A new award that we call the Bossier Parish School Board Award of Excellence. Throughout the year, the Bossier Parish School Board and Superintendent Smith will be recognizing the achievements of our most outstanding students and staff and award these commemorative medals that you see on the screen above you. So here's a take a look at them. And at this time, I would like to ask that Superintendent Smith and President Darby come up front. The BPSB Award of Excellence is being made possible by Caldwell Banker Gosley and the following sponsoring agents: Terry and Danny Perdue, Frank Kelly, Tammy Montgomery, Sarah Yates and Sarah Thomas, Greg Ryan, Rebecca Stevens, Jim Roberts, Sandy McKellar, Ken and Sandy Simon, Kurt Campbell, Ashley Chance, Cindy Joyner, and Glenda Aycock. We are so thankful to all of these sponsors for their desire to recognize our top performing students and our employees. And at this time, I am going to bestow the honor on our superintendent, our president, to award each one of our archers our first awards of excellence. teammates that didn't come tonight going to be jealous. We'll make sure that they get theirs as well. Let's give them another big round of applause. Who's in the audience. I know that he is so excited to have the reigning national and world archery champions right here in Bossier Parish. Congratulations to each of you. What an awesome year. We are looking forward to 2016-17 and you bringing back that world championship to Bossier Parish schools. Congratulations. And President Darby, that concludes my report unless the board has any comments.
Thank you. Now, would the board like to have Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to say congratulations to the Benton Archery team for their consistent display of excellence. I'd also like to say, on behalf of the board and on behalf of the entire school system, to the Bossier Optimist Club, we want to let you know how much we appreciate your long-standing generosity for the most important investment that can be made, the investment in our children. It's 25 years, over $400,000, and we as a board and as a system very much appreciate your generosity. Thank you.
Any other comments? Item 3, we're down to requests, updates, and reports. 3.01, report DODEA grants briefing presented by Georgette Price, our military student coordinator.
Good evening, Madam President, Mr. Smith, school board members. Thank you for having me here tonight. I just wanted to share with the board and with our community an update on the 2 grants that we're currently serving our students right now. Last year we did receive a Department of Defense Education Activity Grant for $1 million to serve 4 of our schools, Airline, Parkway, Kerr, and Stockwell. We're entering our 2nd year, our implementation year, and we've already had lots of events happen. With that, 4 high school students, 2 from Parkway and 2 from Airline, were able to go to the National Training Seminar in Washington, D.C. for a Military Child Education Coalition. They were able to meet with high-ranking military officials and congressmen and women, and I know they really enjoyed that trip. We also did professional development for the 4 schools, 3 hours, and we brought in a specialist to help with serving students with anxiety in the classroom. As we look at the classroom today, about 25% of any classroom will have students who are diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And so that's becoming a really big problem for our students, and it's only predicted to raise or to get bigger. And so our PD that we provided left teachers with some real world techniques and applications for in the classroom, so some real skill building for them. We also had a motivational speaker for Parkway and Airline, their high school students. His name is Richie Contardesi. He actually played for Ole Miss, but he's like 5'5" and 150 pounds. It's an amazing story about overcoming obstacles and about how students need to take personal responsibility to reach their goals. He also did some small group sessions with some of our student leaders to talk about how students can increase engagement with other students and changing the climate and culture of their school. We had a counselor training with Dr. Russell Savella, and he did a presentation on solution-focused training for school counselors. Our school counselors do a lot and often have little time to work with students, so he gave them some really great techniques that can be done in short time. And then he also did a parent night. Unfortunately, that was the night of the big storm, and we did our best to save your computers. But we actually still had parents come, and they stayed even though we lost electricity in this room, and they stayed for the whole presentation. And he did a presentation on cyberbullying and also on protecting your child's digital reputation. And so it was really worthwhile, I think, for those parents who were able to come. This week we had the Be Kind People project come to Stockwell and Kerr Elementary. I know Dr. Bourgeois enjoyed it immensely. They did assemblies for students K through 5, and it was break dancers. But they also, so it was a lot of fun, but they taught students about treating their teachers with respect and the tenets of kindness, and we'll be rolling out that program at those schools. I was also able to rework the $1 million budget, and we just received approval from DODEA with some changes. And I was able to give each school $30,000 to implement some of their program that they want for social emotional support. And so it gave the school a little bit more decision-making power with how the money is spent. A lot of our schools are using that to buy Chromebooks, to do mental health awareness fairs, to do parent nights, to do new student welcome packets and things like that. So I'm really excited. I know I just put in the order today for 60 Chromebooks for Parkway, so that's pretty amazing. And then of course, we're rolling out our suicide prevention program in the health classes. And we will be doing a retraining for the elementary student to student this year as well. And we will also be doing a lot of that money, the $30,000, will be helping to implement some student to student programming at the high schools. So now on to, I know the one that y'all really want to hear about is our new grant, Project SOAR. It's this sheet. So we were very blessed to receive another grant in July. This one was for $1.5 million, and it will serve 11 schools. And those schools are Apollo, Bel Air, Curtis, Kingston, Legacy, R.V. Kerr, Stockwell, Sun City Waller, W.T. Lewis, and Cove Middle School. This grant will cover a lot of things. We're in our year 1, so this is our planning year. The biggest thing is that each school will receive $40,000 to spend on technology, and so we're very excited about that. We will also be hosting a STEAM day, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics at each school, and the CIC is helping us host that. Think of Bill Nye Science Guy, and that's kind of what we're looking to do with the students at the schools. And then the CIC is developing a cross-curricular program for us to implement STEAM in 2nd through 5th grade. And so we will provide training for each teacher as we roll the program out. We'll start in 2nd grade next year. And all the materials associated with the in-class supports will be provided with the grant. We also have money for additional art supplies and a budget for counselors. And then we will be adding a social emotional component to it as well, including a part-time skills development specialist next year that will serve those schools. Do you have any questions? I know it's just a lot, you're too overwhelmed. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
I just wanted to mention to the board and to the audience very quickly that Georgia and Price, with all of these benefits that we're receiving, the school system is receiving as a result of these two grants will also actually pay for her salary. These two grants together will actually pay for her salary over at least the next 4 years. The school system will only be out 50% of her benefits. That's it. So, thank you.
Item 3.02, request approval of the program of professional personnel evaluation 2016 through 2017, presented by Janine Batchelor, Director of Human Resource. However, Mr. Tom Daniel is standing in her place tonight.
That's correct. She's home with bronchitis and asked me to stand in. The program of professional personnel evaluation implements Bulletin 130, which is the guidance that we receive on how to observe and evaluate teachers. The bulletin has not actually been revised since July of 2015. So what we are doing is making some, matter of fact, changes to job descriptions and job titles. And there is a summary in the package that was given to you online, and it summarizes the significant changes over the past year. and job titles and reactivation and inactivation of some positions. And unless there are any questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the program.
Mr. Newsom.
Madam President, none of us have seen the summary of the changes. Do we know where that's at, other than reading 202 pages of the document?
No, it's just a one page and it's attached to the item. He's going to bring it up on the screen.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly.
I think where Mr. Newman is maybe the same place I am. And I just think there's a matter of practice for the board. We've seen, pardon me, we've seen on a number of occasions where something comes to us and we are asked to approve it on the first night that we see it. And I know it's sent to us in advance, but like Mr. Newman, I didn't get through the 202 pages. But I just wonder, as a board, would we be interested in establishing a practice of presenting something to us on a night and then have us approve it at a subsequent meeting? That would give us time to have the presentation, digest it a little bit, and then come back after having a chance to go through it perhaps more thoroughly. And I just wonder what my colleagues on the board think about that.
We need to entertain a motion and then discuss. If not, down the lack of motion.
What are we dealing with here? Deal with Mr. Kelly's point or that?
We're the agenda item.
I saw 195 pages. I did flip through it with the computer today. I saw where the changes were made to the job titles and who answers to who, basically, when it comes to evaluations. There's so much information in here. Well, I can't say that. This board member's not going to read 102 pages, but I like the highlighted change page that you made, and given the timing and the work that's gone into this, I'd make the motion that we approve this tonight. That'd be my motion. Then come back and we can take a look at Mr. Kelly's.
Motion by Mr. Masur.
Second.
Second by Ms. Brotherton. Any comments or discussions? Mr.
I definitely think we need to approve this and get this done, but I do believe it's the second or third meeting in a row, and it happens quite a bit even before then, that we're asked to vote on something this first night we hear about it and talk about it. I do believe that in the future, I would like to see us have it presented to us at one meeting, we come back 2 weeks later, and we make the approval or the disapproval. But it's just if we had any questions, we had this to read for a few days, but we weren't able to ask questions and talk about it. I think we need to have one meeting where it's presented, the next meeting that we actually take action.
So noted. Any other questions or comments? Please vote. Thank you, Mr. Daniels.
Thank you.
Item 3.03, report building and grounds committee meeting, August 23rd, 2016, presented by Dennis Bamberg, chairman.
Okay, this committee came together on the 23rd at 4:30, and we discussed six items that required board action. First item was the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board authorize staff to proceed with the repairs to the baseball concessions building at Halton High as a maintenance project as recommended by staff by staff at an estimated cost of less than $20,000, and this is out of committee.
This is out of committee, please vote.
Second item was the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board authorize staff to hire architect to produce an estimated cost and preliminary plan to repair Bossier Instructional Center building, and authorize the superintendent to sign related documents funded by the general fund O&M of plant. And this is out of committee.
This is out of committee, please vote.
Third item was the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board authorize staff to begin selection process for the design of the track resurfacing at Bossier High, subject to the execution of the agreement by all parties and board approval for services, and subject to funding by the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement for re-envisioning downtown Bossier City. This is out of committee.
This is out of committee, please vote.
Item 4, the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board authorize the superintendent to sign a consent to assign for the mineral lease assignments from JW Operating Company to Athon United DRLP and the PEO Haynesville Holdco LLC in accordance with the terms of the paragraph 8 of the state agency lease 6055 for section 16. I need to read it verbatim. And lease 6055 and 6066. This is out of committee.
This is out of committee, please vote.
Item 5, the committee recommends Bossier Parish School Board authorize the superintendent to act on its behalf and enter into local services agreement with Land Rush Properties LLC to revise the construction of Aubrey Walk Connector to Tuscany Crossing subdivision at the new Halton Middle School by means of a change order to CM 1209A Halton Middle School, and no cost to the Bossier Parish School Board, funded by Land Rush Properties, subject to legal review. This is out of committee.
This is out of committee, please vote.
Last item of board action was the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board authorize the superintendent to sign contracts and execute documents related to the additional professional services required from time to time for completion of approval or funded projects in the 2012 bond construction program and for general fund O&M of plant with savings report to the board on a biannual basis.
This is out of committee, please vote.
And we had 3 items for discussion that no board action was required. Keith Norwood reported on the work by the city of Bossier on the replacement of the big airline lift station, how it's progressing. Keith Norwood and Stacy Roger gave updates on the roof leak repairs at Legacy, and Clarence Babineau updated us on the 2012 bond construction program. That's the my end of my report.
Thank you, Ms. Bamberg. Item 3.04, request.
Any question?
Mr. Newman, I'm sorry.
Thank you, President Darby. I was not at the meeting, but Mr. Chairman Bamberg, if I could, I've heard talk that now there's a wellhead in our proposed site for Benton High School, and I'd like some answers to why we're just now finding out about that from whoever needs to be held responsible for this major delay in this project. Do we know anything on that?
Mr. Newman, we were here about 30 minutes before this item came up, and then we were here about another hour after it came up discussing the same subject. I guess Mr. Norwood was told about this 2 weeks ago. Yeah, he'll give us an update, a quick update from Mr. Newman.
If I could comment, I was under the impression we were forewarned about the existence of some type of oil and gas structure long before this. I'm not disputing what you're saying, but maybe it was a different property up there. And so it should have been known and disclosed. I guess that's the better word. It should have been disclosed, because I seem to recall there was a comment, and I'm going way back a long time ago, that or maybe I'm confusing the property immediately adjacent to the existing middle school, because there was a wellhead there. But I was thinking there was also a conversation about there is some oil and gas structure within the Leflet tract at some place within that tract.
I was unaware of anything like that, so.
Nobody on the current building.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing it, maybe it just hadn't been disclosed.
Right, or from last year for that matter, so that's why, my question, I guess, to Mr. Norwood, we've been running full head of steam with this project, yet this comes about now. I guess my question and my whole issue with the situation is we have wasted valuable time trying to find something to do with Benton High School and the overcrowding problem, and now we literally, I'm not gonna approve to build a school with a well site on it. Not gonna do it. I'm not gonna expect an architect, Mr. Babineau, to design around it either. And I'm very frustrated that this is just now coming to light, and I would like some answers as to why this was not brought front and center, even when we were looking at pictures of the tracks, why it was not designated where that wellhead was.
Yes, sir. To begin with, originally, when we were dealing with the 35-acre or 30-acre middle school site at that same location, we avoided the wellhead by having it south of there. When the board authorized purchasing a larger parcel for the high school, it incorporated the well pad site in that footprint. At that time, we were told by the representatives for the Leflets, who have considerable experience with oil and gas, that they believed that it was a well that was inactive and had never been completely tapped, and that it could be closed out without a great deal of problems. And so we moved forward with our due diligence, which includes the environmental assessments and all of that thing, to verify what exactly we have. It took some time, probably a month or two, to get all the documents back in. And some of those were discovered through the title search, some of those were discovered through the initial discovery for the surveys, for the property surveys by an engineer and a surveyor. And so when all the information came together, we also understood that at the very corner of the property, we had a gas processing plant related to some of the same oil field property. We still believed, and everyone still believed, that the well was not going to be a problem in and of itself, but these other complications came up. So we retained someone that had more experience in those things to really confirm the information that we were getting from the property owners, that it could be resolved. There have been a number of different reports we've received from the operator, from the people operating the gas line, and after much discussion, we received a proposal from the operator to buy out the surface lease, which is not something that we believed was our responsibility to do. We just received that letter probably a week or two ago. So based on that, the owner's representative proposed an alternative footprint that avoids the well altogether. What we're doing at this time, we've met with our attorneys and the attorneys and representative for the Leflets. And what I proposed is continuing to evaluate both sites until one or the other of them appears to be the best option. But what we presented to the committee last week was to have the alternative site that runs east-west instead of north-south, and it avoids the well site. So we're running costs on that, and that appears to be the favored option. But just to be sure that we've evaluated both options fully and correctly, we haven't completely ruled out the other one until we know exactly what we're dealing with. just to summarize, we're dealing with whatever cost might be associated with relocating pipelines and processing and/or officially closing the well pad site, which has never been tapped. It was drilled and has a preliminary cap somewhere in the bottom of it, but it was never a producing well. And then whatever regulatory requirements we have to have a safe distance from whatever operating equipment there is. So honestly, the due diligence process takes a long time, and a lot of that has to do with the title research, finding these things out, and then once we find them out, finding out where the repercussions, putting dollar on whatever cost may be associated, and then evaluating the best option. So that's really been an ongoing process. We haven't stopped in our due diligence at any time. We're still working on the documents, and we're moving forward with still a 75-acre footprint that is yet to be determined.
Mr. Bunkhouse.
That was my question. The same question that you brought up tonight was Eric, or Mr. Newman. And the fact that the owner of the land does not own the rights to that well.
Right.
And so that was what was told to me, was that all of a sudden we found out that they don't own the rights. They're selling the land, and now they submitted a letter saying we could buy them out to buy the rights. But there again, if we build a school, and somebody else owns the rights, they can throw up a well, and explore that as gas prices go up. So, and Mr. Bull, I don't recall ever hearing,
He addressed it.
Yeah.
He addressed it because it came up during that, when we were in the elementary. And he said, we tried.
When we were going to look at the middle school.
So it was known, it was known that well was there. That's my point.
Yeah.
It just wasn't disclosed.
Sure.
But
Yeah, we
Mr. Cheatham.
And I guess that's my point again as well, is I feel like for 6 months, we knew that well was an issue. We knew it was an issue when we were gonna have a middle school, so we made it on this side and clear of it. And then we moved to the high school, we needed more acreage. We knew it was there, it was never brought to our attention. So 6 months later, it's like we're starting over. And, I listened at the meeting the other day, and I'm listening tonight, and it's like the old George Strait song, oceanfront property in Arizona. I feel like we're being, I feel like we should have been upfront about that, and I feel like we wasted 6 months in the process of this, and that's just my opinion.
Mr. Bamberg.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on that as well, because I wasn't under the impression that you said we avoided that well site when we were looking at the middle school tract. So that was something I was unaware that we were avoiding at that point. But my second statement is, because it's been so long between this process, and it seems like we're not quite at ground zero starting line again with these places, but it may be time to reach out to some of the property owners that we wanted to look at in the past and just start opening a dialogue. For one, it motivates a seller if we're looking at other options, and two, somebody may not have wanted to sell their property, and they may be in a different situation because that time frame has passed. So, I think it's good for business if this process is going to be drawn out, which it seems like it has already, that we start exploring options that we can get this thing off the ground, because these students are going to need somewhere to sit very, very quickly.
Mr. Newman.
Mr. Norwood, am I to understand that you said the cost of relocating would fall upon the school board and us as the property owner if we were to move forward? Or would the cost to relocate pipeline, compressor station, wellhead cap, and all of that fall on someone else?
Combination of the above. What we've done is we've identified which items may be cost items and try to size each of those up. We're still waiting on some estimates on some of it. We're proposing that some of it will be the responsibility of the property owner, just strictly by the fact that they're benefiting from the lease itself. And there's some things that it would be to the school board's best interest to consider that aren't fully identified in regulations when you're dealing with an existing facility, but a new construction. We are actively working through all of that, and the reason that we retained our own consultants is because we wanted to be sure that the representatives for the leftists were not being overly optimistic on some of things. It is an area of specialty, so we've actually retained Jones O'Brien to take a look at it with us and help us determine exactly what the best course of action is. And as far as looking at other properties, I do agree that it's always an option. At the time that we looked at this site, it was apparently the cleanest and the easiest to get into, but that was when we were looking at a middle school, not a high school. And so as these things evolve, we try to make you aware as soon as we can by briefing you at the meetings. This appeared to be something that was fairly easy to resolve until just the last month or so, and now it's gotten more complicated. So we're trying to work through that as quickly as we can and keep you updated.
Now, and
Mr.
one last, second part, is this wellhead fixture visible from the road that ends right there just past Kingston Elementary?
Well, it's visible.
It's my understanding that if I drive to that road, not look in that direction, I can see it out there. Is that correct?
Well, you can see it from an aerial photograph. And just for clarification, when I said we avoided it because we only needed a 30-acre site for middle school, and it didn't even involve the well. We were aware of it. Would probably be a better way to say it. But once, we were already looking at the site, and the conversations came up about the wellhead, we were fairly well assured that it would be a non-issue because it was a non-producing inactive well. But the more that we looked into it, the more complications there have been with some easements for pipelines and some right-of-ways that came up right along the edge of the property. Those things came up later. So what I've asked for is I've asked for the firm that usually does our surveying, and they've already been consulted about doing a boundary survey and a property survey to provide us with an aerial photograph that shows all of these easements and features on them, so we can determine what would be the best layout for the school, because we don't want to own any property that has some of these easements and appurtenances on it. We did get the test results back this week. I got that information just this morning. We did a phase 2 environmental to test the soils all around the well pad, which again has never been tapped, but it's never been producing, but it was drilled. And then the gas processing plant itself, and they did not have any positive results for any type of pollutants. So really the only concern you have there is just whether or not they ever intend to operate it, and what is the safe distance to construct our facilities next to a pipeline. It's not a unique situation, but we feel like it's one that we need to take care on before we actually close on the property. We need to know what costs there may be associated with it, what responsibilities we may have for the safety of our students. So that's really what we're working through now.
Mr. Bullard?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Norwood, could you give us an estimate of how much we have paid out for consultants, surveys, appraisals, everything and anything related to the review and potential acquisition of this tract of land?
Do you mean beyond the basic that we would normally do, or the total?
Well,
I'm just going to be
we've had all of these consultants that have come in. I know Mr. Babineau has spent a lot of time on this. I have to believe we're spending a lot of money, or have spent a lot of money just to get to this point. And I would be interested in knowing an estimate, if nothing else, a best guess.
Well, I would be best guessing, sir. Typically, we would have appraisal services, we'd have legal and title work, we would have surveys, we would have wetlands delineation, and we would have a phase 1 environmental. So usually those services will run probably, I'm just guessing, in the $30,000 range, plus or minus typically. every
with-
project we've had.
With all of these issues, would it be fair to say that we're into it at 50,000 or above now?
I don't think we are yet, but of course it is twice as large a parcel as what we usually require. So, you know, every cost is gonna be a little larger for a larger parcel for the study involved. I'll be glad to get you that information, but I would say at this point, we're not significantly more than the norm. But as this, you know, we would like to avoid that if at all possible. One of the things we discussed at the building and grounds meeting, which was some of the additional contingent services, to not run those through our program manager anymore. And that's one of the items that you approved tonight, was to have those go through my office so that we don't have some of those additional charges and markups. Because we are aware of the cost, we're watching those very closely.
Thank you.
We have two more comments and question, one by Mr. Kelly, and then we'll move on to Mr. Cheatham.
Thank you, Madam President. It's a two-parter. Number one is, who gets to decide when and where to operate the well? The owner of the mineral rights, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so, did you say something that the mineral rights have been consolidated down with the landowners? Or are they still separate?
No,
Still separate?
the mineral, they're separate.
Okay. So if they're still separate, it's out of our control. It's out of our control. And I'm not interested in any circumstance in building a school where the well can be operated at the desire of a third party over whom we have no ability to exercise any control. Control. Which leads me to the second part. Presuming that we exercise the option for the alternate site, the acreage that runs east-west, you said we have to do due diligence, and then we have to do design changes. Talk to us about a possible timeline to get to groundbreaking if we exercised the alternate site.
Yes, sir. I've asked Mr. Babineau to brief you often and early when we have updates, even if it's bad news, and I get to be the one to do that tonight for good or bad. At the meeting the other night, when he was asked that same question, he was still optimistic that we could keep the schedule that we're on for getting the closing done within a month or two, and concurrently having the design work. But I'm gonna be honest with you, until we get a couple more answers about the magnitude of what has to be done with the oil and gas and the timeline, it's gonna be difficult for me to say that we will be able to bid this school. The schedule we discussed about was after the first of the year, I believe is what he said originally. I'm finding it hard to believe that is gonna stay on that exact schedule. So I'm gonna need to get back with you on that, but I believe that schedule is gonna slide a little bit. I do know that the handoff from the preliminary schematic design to the architect is taking place next week. And we're moving forward with the design. We've been meeting with the administration. And so the actual building footprint will work on either of these layouts. It's the site work that would still have to be customized. And we really are favoring, as far as the logistics of it, the new layout that runs east to west instead of the original one we presented. But what we're doing now is analyzing what the cost and are there any other unknowns that we need to address. One of those that we've been discussing is just traffic impact, whether any additional off-site roads or turn lanes may be required. So all of that is ongoing, and you know, we're giving you an update at every building and grounds meeting on where we are at that time.
Mr. Cheatham?
You said something a minute ago about often and early, and Mr. Babineau updating us. I would really like, because we wasted 6 months, I would like to see you update us often and early. You also said something a minute ago about, you know, you wouldn't want to build a school where there was a well problem. But yeah, we spent 6 months researching it. And that leaves me to have a lack of confidence in how fast we can get this going. And that also is concerning tonight. We passed something to give your office more control and to save money. I think that's a great idea. but I think the often and early communication to us as board members needs to be more efficient. And that way, and if we need to have a building and grounds meeting every 2 weeks until we get some things going, or if we can just have email updates, but the often and early communication, I'm just really confused and feel like we were talking in circles around, well, we didn't want to build around the well, but yet we spent 6 months researching it, we didn't tell the board members about it, but we kept, I don't feel comfortable with it at all.
I'd be glad to answer any other questions, but just to summarize, we have exactly the same concerns you do. And we're trying to work through all of those, and the time that it takes to do this due diligence is usually very aggravating to me personally, because I think it takes longer to do the legal work than it really needs to. It's difficult for me to account for all the time. What I do know is that in doing the due diligence, we discover some of these things that we wouldn't have known otherwise. So it is important to do that. And our current task is to do this. It's to evaluate each site and to discover what of these becomes time factors or cost factors, so we can report that back to you and make some recommendations on what appears to be the best direction to go in from here forward. We would like to keep our options open for both of these footprints. And in case that the well issue itself can be cleared up, we still have to address the pipeline issue, which was not disclosed in advance. But we believe that we can skirt the gas processing plant and not involve that. Then finally, as far as addressing other potential properties, we can always do that. And again, we're looking at time and money. What are the best options? At the time we considered this site and presented it to you, it did appear to be the cleanest site. Now we have some additional complications just within the last month, and so that's what we're bringing to you now. These were always being addressed to us as something that would be easy to work through. And frankly, we just weren't convinced, so we hired our own experts to get to the bottom of it.
Who was presenting it to y'all that it was going to be easy?
Well, the Leflets representative actually works for an oil company, and he has been very helpful in helping me understand what some of the technicalities are. But I wanted to be sure that they really were something we could work through at a minimal cost and not going to be something that would prevent the project from happening. And I am serious about how helpful he's been forthcoming. He's been as it's evolved, but I've had to ask for the information. It wasn't handed to me in a pretty package or anything. It was, we would find out something and that would lead to another question that we would have to ask. We did not know about the pipelines and the gas processing plant at all when we started. So we've obtained copies of all the leases, the agreements. We have individual maps where we have the actual deeds and documents. We're trying to put all that together.
Thank you, Mr. Norwood.
Thank you.
Item 3.04, request consideration and approval of executive session pursuant to LARS 4217A2 for purposes of discussing the resolution of Jessica Martin versus Bossier Parish Schools, civil action number 512 CV 01218 on the docket of the United States District Court for the Western District of Louisiana, Shreveport Division, and matters related thereto.
Madam President, I make a motion that we go into executive session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Baumhouse, second by Mr. Cheatham. Please vote.